Hi, Paul Arnold here, sometimes known as Starting Professor, and today I want to talk to you about the power of insights within marketing and branding. And what is an insight? Well, let's give you a definition. It's a deep discovery about the target audience, underlying needs, behaviors, and motivations that the brand can address as a springboard to create consumer and business value. Great, okay, we got that logged. I prefer another much simpler one, which is, why is a good insight like a refrigerator? Because the moment you look into it, a light comes on. And it's that aha moment you get when you think, yeah, that's it. That for me is the power of a great insight. And why is it important? Because insight lies at the very heart of all marketing. If you think what marketing is about being able to actually meet your customers and your consumers' needs profitably. And actually the point is that you've got to understand them at a much deeper level. And the deeper and you understand them, and the more powerful a need that you address for them, the more enduring your relationship with that customer is going to be. And I always talk about this idea that an insight is the bridge to relevancy. You see, this is what many brands tend to go and do. They look through this and they see their brand as being all so big and all so important, and actually the reality, they should look at it through this lens, because this is how small and insignificant their brand really is in most people's lives. And actually we start at the wrong end of the bridge. We've got to go to the consumer side, work out what's really important for them in their life. And only when we've done that can we then bridge over to say, well, and how can we help them address that? That's what we have to fundamentally go and do. So let me just talk about sources of insights. There are lots and lots of different places to go to, and there is no one right answer for all this. Clearly, lots of brands do lots of research and do lots of ethnographic work where they're observing people in real life doing what they're doing. And certainly you personally can actually sort of reflect upon your own stuff, as well as actually sort of trying to get into the shoes of the people you're talking to. But actually, data is a source. It is a source of understanding. It's not necessarily insight, and its richness, comes from actually interrogating a little bit further, from doing online listening and all those other things. But actually, we should look at other sources as well. So, Proverbs, I always think, is a very powerful place, because the definition of a proverb is a lifelong lived experience captured within a simple phrase. And that's what a proverb is. So in many ways they are insightful in their own right. Or I think looking at creativity, looking at artists, looking at musicians, looking at people who are writing, they're often slightly on the outside of society, and they're looking in and observing stuff. And often if you are an outsider, you can often see things that is blind to the rest of us who are within there. So like we say, a goldfish doesn't know he's in the goldfish bowl. And it's often what we need to do is we need to get to understand the why behind the what. Because actually all this stuff gives us the observations, and then we need to dig deeper and dig deeper and dig deeper until we find the underlying why. Why are they doing that stuff? And that's what we do. And one of the most powerful sources I use is fundamental human drivers. And there are lots of different forms of that out there, be it Maslow. The one I quite like, just looks at through the lens of this, through the tension points that Jung talks about. So we have on the one point this sense of love and connection, which we all strive to have. And at the same time, we've got our need for independence and our need for significance. We have on the one hand this desire for certainty and control, but on the other hand this desire for variety and stimulation. We have on the one hand this desire to have personal growth, but at the same time this need to nurture others. And so you can explore those. And if you can find one of those key points on which your brand sits, you're going to create an enduring relationship with your customers forever and a day, because they will be there forever. Now, I define there to be 6 steps about how you should go about to define the actual insight that's right for your brand. The first thing is you've got to go through a stage of collection. You've got to grab stuff, all those things I talked about, observations, you bring it all together, and almost like as if they're like posters, you stick them up all onto your wall. And then what we then need to do, we then move into a stage of collating. We then need to like sort of clump them together. So, well, they're like a bit like that, and they're a bit like that, and they're a bit like that. And then we've then got to interrogate them and to keep looking at that. Well, what's the underlying why? And that's why you often do the 5 whys. Well, why is that? Why is that? Why is that? Until that's the core of it. And we go up to that. And then we need to refine. So having looked at a number of these things, we can say, so, well, it's more precisely that one than that one, and it's that angle rather than that angle. And then we can define it. We need to find a set of words that actually brings it to life and explains it to other people. And only once we've done that can we expand, and we can see how does that insight resonate itself through the various different touch points that the brand has, be it through new product development or communications, for example. Couple of great examples. These are old classic ones, but they're still very good to sort of illustrate the point. You know, Snickers. You become a different person when hungry. That's so true. If any of you have been on a diet like me, you know, you get irascible. You know, or the AA, when they were doing some research, one of the people in the research group just said something which was really powerful. I said, like, when my car breaks down, it's like an emergency. And when I see that yellow van with the light on, I think, well, I've been saved. And out of that, they came this idea about the insight that for their members, the AA is the 4th emergency service behind the police, ambulance and fire brigade. Or when Dove first sort of hit upon this whole idea about, you know, society sort of creating a fake level of sort of beauty that is unattainable by sort of women. And they moved on to a much more powerful individual space about you are more beautiful than you think you are, than you realize you are. Or this other great campaign done by this girl this idea that sort of women don't exercise because they're afraid of people judging them on how unfeminine they are. Like, you know, that case, you know, of actually sweating far too much. And how do you know that you come across a good one? Well, to go back to that refrigerator thing, I think it just resonates with you. So the first R I talk about is it resonates. You sort of can feel the hairs on the back of your neck. You sort of go, yeah, you know it. You just know it. And the next one is relevant. Is it relevant for the brand you're talking about? You know, and the last one is reaction. Is it gonna drive things to happen out of doing that one? So resonate, relevancy and reaction are the 3 ways in which we can judge it. And how to write them? Well, some people are very prescriptive about it. Say, well, write in the first person and you put a tension point in. I'm not so worried about that. I want to write it in a way that communicates to other people, and I want to write it in a way that people understand it and it doesn't come too clever. Anyway, I run workshops in this field, so if there's of any help, then by all means contact me at the end of this video are my details. Anyway, take care and good insight hunting. Ciao, bye.